But when people say, that's good bourbon, what do they mean? Or is it just totally subjective?
So here, I'm going to throw a curveball. Good bourbon, I think, is arbitrary. I think bourbon's so regulated, it kind of is what it is. As long as you can frickin' do the basics, you can make a bourbon. The fun part now is where we can start to play with, and it's much like the craft brewery world. Now distilleries are getting to play. Like, you get to now monkey with stuff, and that's where it's going to get interesting.
Okay.
People are really starting, much like even in wine, if you think about Italy, they were so regulated. Like, if you wanted to get your DOC, you had to be a certain whatever for certain areas of Italy. And bourbon was the same way. But now people are like, no, I want to make my own whiskey. Like, I want to do things that are funky and weird. And people are starting to branch out, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So now we're like, I have something going right now that's completely off the board of just weird grain, and you get to monkey with it. It doesn't have to be a bourbon.
Right.
So I think...
But you can't call it bourbon.
I cannot call it bourbon.
Right.
But it will be a whiskey. And I think that's what's fun for me. To say what makes a great bourbon, I think it's super arbitrary. We used to drink, personally, a cheap brand of bourbon, and then it got all these high scores and got recognized, and now it's not a cheap brand of bourbon. And you see that these things get hot and they get cold.
Right.
Bourbon's bourbon. It's corn, it's either wheat or rye, and it's malted barley, and it's oak. And I think there are some variances, but I think what's going to happen now is there's going to be a revolution of really interesting whiskeys coming out.
Yeah. I'm so excited for that because like I was drinking Michter's 6-7 years ago.
Sure.
And then it got on a TV show.
Yeah.
And now it's 6 times more expensive.
Same with Weller's. Same
You know?
with
And
Blanton's. Same
right.
with...
And the quality's probably not even